Hello everyone and welcome to the Milan Sharma Show. I'm your host Milan, and today I will be doing a reaction video on dopamine from the Chris Williamson podcast here. So without further ado, let's go.
Many of us are fortunate to have partners that we love spending a lot of time with. It's also good to miss that person every once in a while. Now, that might be an hour for some people apart of no communication. It might be a week. Everyone varies on this spectrum. But the idea of missing someone is that positive anticipation, that kind of pain, right? It's a motivational state. And then when you see them, it's all the richer. So you can imagine that these dopamine circuits can be used to more successfully navigate a number of different things. And, a lot of couples completely quash the excitement and the pleasure of being together. Not just physical pleasure, but just pleasure of being together because they just spend too much damn time together. Familiarity. Or they're texting all the time, right?
I cannot agree more with this gentleman right here. His name is Dr. Andrew Huberman. And this is so true because I see so many people suffocate themselves on their phone. So many romantic partners, they suffocate themselves on the phone when they're messaging every single minute of every single day, where the moments you have with your partner is very predictable, sadly, in many ways. And it's very hard to have that spark that's so integral for romantic partnerships today. And I think that's so true. I think that's really true. And also, the fact that dopamine can be used as a positive motivation to see each other, I think is also a fantastic motivator for anybody that goes through all the crap of every day, of every day. So, for example, if you're, going through the week, you're having a very tough week at work, or just things aren't going your way, like throughout the day or throughout the week, your boss is angry at you, you're hitting your tests, you're not hitting your limits the way you should be hitting your goals, or whatever the case may be. I think it's really important that to have this dopamine, positive anticipation of dopamine, as Dr. Huberman states right here, because it's just good to look forward to something. I think I never heard of it this way before. We always talk about the negative effects of dopamine with social media, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, etc. All of those social media platforms, and you always talk about FOMO, or the fear of missing out. But in reality, there's actually a positive dopamine that nobody talks about, and I think Andrew Huberman makes a fantastic case right here.
And this whole thing around texting has become a really interesting test of dopamine expectation. There's this thing called dopamine reward prediction error. If you think the reward is coming and it doesn't, you drop below baseline levels of dopamine.
That's why you should never tell someone that this restaurant's going to be the best restaurant you've ever been to in your life.
Exactly. I made the mistake of telling my girlfriend on the way here I want her to read this book. I'm like, this is an amazing book, you should read it. And I caught myself and I thought, damn it, I'm actually detracting from how good she's going to experience the book as.
Tell her it was terrible.
Oh yeah, it's really good though. This is the problem. It's hard to do. So I think the key is to leverage dopamine reward prediction error in the best way. It's the surprise that if you take kids, you're driving home from school and suddenly you pull into the ice cream shop, they're going to be so ecstatic. But if you tell them you're going to go to the ice cream shop and it's closed, huge drop below baseline.
Does that mean if you tell them that you're going to the ice cream shop and it's open, that's less than not telling them that you're going to the ice cream shop and it's surprise?
Correct. They literally tier out into surprise is the maximum dopamine release, then successful completion of the mission, as it were, is the next, and then unsuccessful.
I think this is really true because anytime I get somebody a gift for either their birthday or just a random gift for my girlfriend, I don't want to tell her ahead of time because it kind of ruins that anticipation or that excitement for what that gift could be. And the worst thing about telling somebody that you're going to do something, like this person said, like the ice cream store, with the children being underwhelmed if the ice cream store is closed, that could easily be relatable to today, even as adults. If someone's saying, oh, I'm going to get you a gift, or you're going to be really excited about what I'm going to get you, I can't wait to see your reaction, you're going to be so thrilled and ecstatic, I might put the expectation in my head that I'm expecting the best of the best, and in my mind, it may be different than what my partner has in mind. And I think this is so key because what my partner could be getting me, or what a man could be getting a woman, or a woman could be getting a man, could be equally fantastic, and they may actually enjoy that. But if you say that this gift or whatever it is going to be so exciting or so ecstatic, you take away the power of what that surprise entails.
Is there not an argument to be made that you would be able to drag out the amount of time that dopamine is released for because of the anticipation?
Yeah, and people do this in relationship quite a lot, right? Anticipation is the kind of ultimate fuel of the courting dance, right? I mean, this is also, but one has to be very careful, because whether or not it's from the male side or the female side or whatever variation thereof, you only get so many reward prediction errors before people start to predict or associate low dopamine with somebody or some experience. In other words, if I'll use an example, not from my own life, but if you say, we're going to Costa Rica on vacation, and then you say, listen, I have to work. They might understand, but that's a letdown. It's a dopamine reward prediction error in the direction of lower dopamine. They might recover from it, they might not, but most people recover from it. If you do that 2 or 3 times, what ends up happening, you can model this beautifully, and they've seen this experimentally in animals and humans. Then you say, okay, we're really going to Costa Rica this time. And you think, well, the surprise is going to be that you actually go. The amount of dopamine that's released for a successful completion of the initial goal is far lower than it ever would have been.
I think this is really interesting, and I think that's why I think my friends and I are so, we truly believe in the idea of backing up the words with actions. I'm a huge believer in having your actions back your words, because your words don't have value unless your actions back that. And I think it's so hard for anybody to trust you if you, let's say, if you claim to be working out all the time and you're not doing that. Or you say, hey, I want to be this weight at this particular date, but you're not putting in the work. People aren't going to trust you with that authority. They're not going to provide you that authority over them when you're not really autonomous in your own will yourself. So why would they want to listen to you for anything? And I think this is so true with relationships, like Dr. Huberman even states right here, when people say, and a lot of partners will say things just to make the other person happy, like, oh, I want to take you to this place, I want to take you to X and Y and Z. We're going to have a fantastic place at A and B and C, but in reality, you don't have the means to provide that experience for that person. So with the intention being excellent and having a great time with your partner, you're devaluing yourself because you're not able to provide that experience. So like Dr. Huberman states right here, it's actually a letdown with the dopamine. And I think that's something that so many people do, and at times I've been guilty of this. I can think of some examples in my life where I've done this. And I think even outside romantic relationships, this is true for friendships as well.
So you can only cry wolf. I suppose that's not the right way to put it. You can only create positive anticipation so many times and then create a letdown before completion, that the delivery of the promise has very little impact. And so you have to be very careful with one's words. Better to say nothing than to let somebody down, for sure, in the context of human relationship. And
I couldn't agree more with that. It's better to say nothing than let somebody down with the anticipation of something that is inevitably not going to happen. I think that's so pivotal. And I think that's why so many people are just scared to take risks and to do things, because of that possibility of things not working out, of having the hope or the preconceived notion that a positive outcome will happen, but in reality it actually doesn't happen, and they become let down, they become scared, they become anxious, and they don't want to do anything because they'd rather have the expectation that nothing will happen, so they take no action. And that's for a whole separate video on taking action and taking risks to achieve your goals. But I think, just to digress, Dr. Huberman makes a fantastic point here that it's better to do nothing if you have something planned for your partner or whomever, than to state something that you cannot deliver on. And of course, like, if you do it once or twice, like, maybe like it's okay, and it's just out of pure bad luck or just mistakes. But if it's repeated, if it's occurring repeatedly, it's going to be very difficult for your partner to believe you and have that trust in you.
This plays out in some less perhaps amusing ways, where you look at people who are successful in life, and you always hear success builds success, and it's absolutely true. Like when students come to my lab and they do a PhD thesis, it's very important for me to get them onto a research track quickly that they're going to experience some success, because if they spend 4 years and then it fails, that's devastating, and then they have to start over again. Same thing with kids. I mean, getting some success early on, even if it's low bar success, really does build up one's positive anticipation, an ability to perform well in the future, because dopamine gives energy. Remember, it's the precursor to adrenaline, and the sense that the world is predictable. Now, this can go a wrong way too, and I see this a lot with the idea that everyone gets a blue ribbon. This is terrible too, because if everyone is rewarded, every child is rewarded regardless of how well they performed, if they're all rewarded to the same level, you actually flatten the dopamine curve. And so in that sense, yes, everyone might feel, celebrated, but you actually are lowering motivation for the given activity. This has a whole landscape of research in back of it related to intrinsic versus extrinsic reward. The strongest motivation is always going to be intrinsic motivation. If you reward kids or adults for something too many times, even if they like that activity, the propensity to do that activity will be reduced. But if you reward without effort or without success, that is devastating for a nervous system. In fact,
I think what he said, what Dr. Huberman states here is so true, because if you reward without effort and without ability or skill, then what is the motivation to improve? What's the motivation to be better? If I'm rewarded a cookie, if I'm a child and I'm rewarded a cookie for going to soccer practice and skipping soccer practice, performing well and not performing well, playing hooky and attending practice, I'm not going to put in as much effort. I'm probably going to skip practice more often than not. And yet I'm being rewarded for something I'm not actually working hard towards. So of course I'm not going to reach my goal of being a good soccer player if I get rewarded for every single action that I do, regardless of how I feel. Because you can't expect that. You can't expect someone to improve their life if you're constantly rewarding them for every action they take. And if that's the case and there's no discipline there, then it creates a state of complacency. And I think Dr. Hubman says it's devastating, and I believe him. I agree with him. I could not agree more, because it's truly devastating when that happens.
Gone on record, and I'll say it again and again and again, which is that dopamine that arrives without prior effort destroys people. This is drugs. This is things like cocaine and amphetamine. It's high levels of dopamine with no effort. Okay, they had to buy it, they had to find it, they did whatever it. But there's no physical effort or mental effort involved in getting the dopamine peak. This is why hard work followed by reward, great. Working hard on a relationship and then it gets better, or there's a breakthrough, or whatever it is. That is powerfully positive. Dopamine that just arrives because you say, oh, you're here, so you get reward. Terrible. And this is why rewarding every little positive thing that a child does with their favorite thing eventually diminishes the value of that thing and diminishes their ability to get motivated on their own. So very, very powerful system. One has to be very, very careful how one leverages it.
What's up?
Yeah. So that's a short clip I wanted to share with you guys. I think this message is so important for everybody to hear, because the main takeaway I got out of this is that positive dopamine does exist. And I think some people don't realize that dopamine can be a powerful tool to help people and not just inhibit people. Because so many times we hear about the negative effects of dopamine, FOMO, Instagram, social media, how that dopamine gets affected in your head and you're not allowed to actually cope effectively and do things to help you. But with this type of motivation, dopamine to motivate, like seeing a loved one after a day or a week or a month, however long that may be, it can really provide a powerful energy to accomplish skills that you really didn't think you had the ability to do. And I've seen this in my life. I think this is really true, so I want to share that with you all. So please please share, subscribe. If you didn't like the video, comment that you didn't like the video. Anything. Comment your favorite emoji, anything you want, because it really helps me out. Thank you so much for listening, and peace. Have a great day, guys. Bye.